When a relationship starts to fall apart, it doesn't happen with a big explosion. No, it's slower than that. It's the small things that change first, the quiet moments, the little signs that most people ignore. I guess I did too. That night, I was sitting alone on the couch watching the clock. It was already past midnight. My wife, Lisa, had gone out with her friends. She said she needed a break, some time to clear her head. I told her, sure, go ahead, have fun. But deep down, I felt uneasy. Something just didn't feel right. The house was quiet, too quiet. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a message, but nothing came. I told myself not to worry, but my gut said otherwise. Then, just after 1 in the morning, I heard the front door open. Lisa walked in slowly, her eyes half open, and she smelled like a mix of alcohol and something else. Something that didn't belong to her, or to me. Her hair was a mess, like she had been in the wind or caught in a storm. Her shirt was wrinkled and her jeans were smudged with something I couldn't place. But what hit me hardest was the faint scent of cologne. Not mine, not hers, someone else's. Lisa, I asked, standing up. You okay? She didn't answer right away. She just blinked at me, like she was trying to focus. Then she stumbled a little and I rushed to catch her before she fell. Come on, I said gently, helping her to the couch. Sit down, you don't look good. She leaned back and closed her eyes. Her breathing was heavy. Her words were slurred. I didn't mean to, she mumbled. It just happened. What happened, Lisa? I asked, trying to stay calm. My heart was beating so fast it felt like it might burst. She looked away. Just once, she whispered. I'm sorry. My chest tightened. I felt like the floor was opening beneath me. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to tell myself she didn't mean what I thought she meant. But I knew. Still, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood there, frozen. Let's get you to bed, I said, almost like a robot. I helped her up, walked her to our room, and tucked her in. She fell asleep in seconds. I stayed up all night. My mind was racing. I sat at the kitchen table, staring into the dark, thinking of every little thing that had changed in the past few months. The way she pulled away when I tried to hug her. How she started staying out later. The way she looked at her phone and smiled at messages she wouldn't show me. It all made sense now. The next morning, I made coffee and waited for her to wake up. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew I couldn't stay silent. I needed answers. When she finally walked into the kitchen, she looked tired. Her eyes were red, and she had that same guilty look on her face from the night before. Morning, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She nodded. Morning. Lisa, I said, looking straight at her. Do you remember anything from last night? Her hands trembled. She didn't speak, just looked at the floor. I pulled out my phone. I took these pictures, I said, sliding it across the table to her. Your clothes, the way you came home, the smell, you need to tell me the truth. She looked at the photos. Her face went pale. I'm sorry, she said softly. It wasn't supposed to happen. But it did, I replied. I didn't shout. I didn't even raise my voice. I just felt tired, empty. That morning changed everything. I didn't know what the next days would bring. But I knew one thing for sure. Nothing would ever be the same again. The kitchen felt colder that morning. Maybe it was just me. Lisa sat across the table, still staring at the photos on my phone like they might disappear if she looked hard enough. I watched her. I wanted to hate her in that moment, but I couldn't. I just felt hurt, crushed. I need you to tell me everything, I said. I deserve that much. She took a deep breath. Her voice was small but steady. It was someone from work, she said. It wasn't planned. We had drinks. One thing led to another, and I didn't stop it. I nodded slowly. My hands were clenched under the table. Was it just once? She didn't answer right away. That silence was louder than any scream. Lisa, I said more firmly. Was it just once? She looked at me, her eyes full of guilt. No, she whispered. It happened a few times. That was it. The final crack. I sat back, my chest burning. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Why? I asked, my voice barely louder than a breath. What did I do? It wasn't you, she said quickly. It's not like that. You've been good to me. Too good, maybe. I don't know. I was just lost. And he paid attention. He made me feel seen. I'm not trying to make excuses. I held up my hand. Stop, please. She went quiet. I stood up, walked to the sink, and stared out the window. The street outside looked normal. People walking their dogs, kids on bikes, birds on the wires. Like nothing was wrong, like the world hadn't just broken inside this house. I turned back to her. Do you love him? She shook her head. No, I don't. It wasn't about love. But you risked everything for it. I know. We both stood there in the quiet. Her with her regret. Me with my pain. I need some time, I said finally. I can't look at you right now without seeing this. Are you leaving? She asked, her voice shaking. I don't know, I replied. But I can't stay. Not today. I grabbed a jacket, my phone, and my keys. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't be there anymore. As I walked out the door, she called after me. I'm sorry. I really am. I paused for a second, then said, without turning back, I know, but sorry doesn't undo what's been done. I got in the car and started driving. No music, no destination, just miles and silence. The road stretched out in front of me, empty and uncertain. And so was I. I didn't sleep much that night. I stayed in a cheap motel just outside the city. The bed was stiff, the lights were too bright, and my thoughts wouldn't leave me alone. I kept replaying Lisa's words over and over. It wasn't love. It happened more than once. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw her with him. I pictured it like a movie I didn't want to watch, but couldn't turn off. By morning, something inside me changed. I couldn't just sit with questions anymore. I needed answers. Real ones. She told me it was someone from work. That narrowed it down. I knew most of her coworkers, but one name stood out, Marcus. He was always around her, always laughing too loud at her jokes, always showing up at our house for team projects. I opened my laptop and typed his name into social media. It didn't take long. There he was, smiling in every photo, suits, glasses, that fake kind of charm that only fools people if they want to be fooled. And then I saw something I didn't expect. He had a family, a wife, 2 kids. Their faces were all over his profile, family vacations, Halloween costumes, matching Christmas sweaters. My stomach turned. He had a whole other life, just like I did. And yet, he stepped into mine like it meant nothing. Lisa wasn't his first mistake. I could feel it. Guys like him don't just trip into affairs. They plan them. That's when I knew what I had to do. I waited until late that night. I drove back home while Lisa was asleep. I knew her phone's passcode. It was still the same. Part of her must have thought I'd never go through it. But I did. I scrolled through her texts, past the random chats, the messages to her sister, her friends. Then I found him. The messages between Lisa and Marcus weren't long, but they didn't need to be. Just enough to tell the truth. You going to Benny's again tonight? Yeah. You'll be there? Wouldn't miss it. Don't be obvious this time. My hands started shaking. The messages went back weeks, maybe months. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. Then I saw one more message, one that stopped me cold. Wish things were different. That's when I knew. This wasn't a fling, at least not to him. He had feelings for her. Maybe she did too once. Maybe not. But none of that mattered anymore. I sat there in the dark, the glow from the screen lighting up all the cracks in my heart. Lisa stirred in the other room, unaware. I put the phone down and stood up. I felt sick, but I also felt something else, clarity. It was no longer about if she cheated or how many times. Now it was about what I was going to do with the truth. One thing was certain. Marcus's wife, Natalie, deserved to know. Just like I had. But before I could tell her, I had to make sure I had everything. Screenshots, dates, proof. No one was going to say I was guessing. I needed to be sure. I copied every message, every timestamp, every photo. Then I sat at the kitchen table until sunrise. The next step wouldn't be easy, but it would be necessary. Because this wasn't just about broken vows anymore. This was about decency, about respect, about what happens when people stop thinking their actions matter. And I wasn't going to stay quiet. A few days passed after I found the messages. I kept my distance from Lisa, sleeping on the couch, barely speaking. She knew something had changed, but she didn't ask. Maybe she was afraid of the answer. Maybe she already knew I had seen the truth. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. But the hardest part wasn't the silence in the house. It was what I had to do next. I needed to speak to Marcus's wife, Natalie. Some people might say it wasn't my business, that I should just walk away and deal with my own pain. But how could I? She was living in a lie, just like I had been. I owed it to her. So I sent her a message, short, careful. I didn't want to scare her. Just a simple note. Hi, Natalie. I'm sorry to message you like this, but I believe we need to talk. It's about your husband and my wife. I have proof. I'll explain everything in person if you're willing. I didn't expect a quick reply, but she responded that same day. Her message was polite, nervous. I don't understand. What is this about? Can we meet somewhere safe? We agreed on a quiet coffee shop downtown, neutral ground, public, calm. I got there early and sat at a corner table. My hands were sweating. My heart was racing. I didn't want to do this, but I had to. Then she walked in. Natalie was nothing like I imagined. She looked tired, like someone who hadn't slept well in weeks. Her hair was pulled back, and she wore no makeup. Just a woman who'd been going through life with no idea a storm was coming. "Are you Jordan?" she asked softly. "Yes," I said, standing to greet her. "Thank you for coming." We sat down. She looked at me with confusion, concern. I didn't waste time. "I'm sorry to tell you this, Natalie," I said. "But your husband, Marcus, he's been having an affair with my wife, Lisa." She blinked fast, as if trying to clear her hearing. "What? What did you say?" "I have proof," I told her. "Screenshots, texts, pictures. They've been meeting for weeks, maybe longer." I slid a folder across the table. She stared at it, but didn't open it. Her fingers trembled. "You're sure?" she whispered. "It's not a misunderstanding?" I nodded. "I wish it was. I really do. But I've seen enough. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't sure." She finally opened the folder. Her eyes scanned the pages slowly. I watched her face change. Shock, pain, anger. But not surprise. "I thought something was off," she said quietly. "He's been distant. Always at work late. Always texting someone." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She closed the folder, pressed her lips together, and took a deep breath. "Thank you," she said. "You didn't have to tell me, but you did. That means something." We sat in silence for a minute. Two strangers, thrown together by betrayal. Neither of us wanted to be there. But there we were, facing the same ugly truth. "I'm sorry you're going through this," I said. She nodded. "You too?" We didn't talk long after that. She said she needed time to think, to decide what to do next. I respected that. I knew exactly how heavy the weight she now carried was. As I left the coffee shop, I felt strange. Not happy, not satisfied, but lighter in a way, like I had done what was right, even if it hurt. When I got back home, Lisa was in the kitchen. She looked up at me, eyes red, face pale. "Where were you?" she asked. I didn't answer. I just looked at her. A long, tired look. She knew, and now she also knew that this story, this mess, wasn't just between us anymore. It was real, it had consequences, and it was far from over. The next morning, Lisa and I finally spoke, really spoke. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at my cold coffee. I hadn't slept. My thoughts had kept circling the same loop, her lies, their betrayal, and what came next. She walked in, quiet, unsure, as if she was afraid to even breathe too loudly. "We need to talk," I said before she could say anything. She nodded slowly, sat across from me, and looked down at her hands. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I was too tired for that. "I know everything, Lisa," I said. "I saw the messages. I know about you and Marcus." She didn't deny it. She didn't even flinch. Tears filled her eyes. She took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never meant for it to happen. I don't know how we got there." That line. I never meant for it to happen. I had heard it before, from movies, from stories, from other people, and now I was living it. "You lied to me," I said. My voice was calm, but my chest was burning. "For weeks, maybe longer. I trusted you, Lisa." She nodded, crying now. "I know, I was wrong. I was so wrong." I stared at her for a long moment. This was the woman I loved, the woman I built a life with. But now she felt like a stranger wearing Lisa's face. "Why him?" I asked. "Why Marcus?" She shook her head slowly, like she was still trying to figure it out herself. "I felt lost," she said. "You've been so busy lately, so distant. He noticed me. He made me feel seen." I looked away, biting back the anger. "I was busy trying to build something for us," I said. "Everything I did was for this family." "I know," she said, barely audible. I made a mistake." "No," I said. "You made a choice. A mistake is spilling coffee. What you did, that was a choice." Over and over again. She didn't argue, maybe because she knew I was right. "I met with Natalie," I said. Her eyes widened. "You what?" "She deserved to know, Lisa, just like I deserved to know." She looked ashamed, horrified even. But I didn't comfort her. This wasn't the time for that. "So what now?" she asked. That was the question. What now? I didn't have the full answer yet, but I knew one thing. I couldn't stay in the house. "I need space," I said. "Time to think. I'm staying with my brother for a while." She nodded slowly, crying harder now. "I understand." I packed a bag that afternoon. Just a few things: clothes, laptop, toothbrush. The basics. I wasn't leaving for good. Not yet. But I couldn't be there. Not with her. Not in that house full of silence and memories. As I walked to the door, she followed me. "I'm so sorry, Jordan," she said. "I love you. I swear I still love you." I paused at the door, hand on the knob. "I loved you too," I said. "And I hope someday I can forgive you. But right now, I need to protect what's left of me." And with that, I left. The air outside felt colder than usual. Or maybe it was just me. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if our marriage could survive. But I knew I had finally taken the first step away from the lies. And sometimes that's all you can do. Step forward. Even if your heart is still back there, trying to understand what just happened. 3 weeks had passed. The days felt long, quiet, and strange. Living with my brother helped a little. He gave me space, didn't ask too many questions. Just being around someone who didn't lie felt like a gift. But inside, I was still trying to understand everything. I went through every stage: anger, heartbreak, confusion, even guilt. I wondered if I had missed the signs, wondered if I could have done something to stop it. But deep down, I knew one thing: betrayal wasn't my fault. Lisa made her choice. Marcus made his. And I was left to pick up the pieces. Natalie and I kept in touch. We checked on each other like survivors of the same storm. She filed for separation 2 days after I told her. She didn't waste time. I wasn't there yet. I didn't know what I wanted: divorce, forgiveness, something in between. But I knew I couldn't rush it. One Saturday afternoon, Lisa called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hi," she said softly. "I was wondering if you'd meet me, just to talk." I paused, then said, "Okay." We met at a small park not far from our house. Neutral ground. The air was crisp and the trees were just starting to change color. She looked tired. So did I. "Thanks for coming," she said. I nodded. "What did you want to talk about?" She sighed. "I've started therapy. I've been trying to understand why I did what I did. It's not an excuse. Just, I needed to do something." "That's good," I said. "I hope it helps." We sat on a bench in silence for a while. "I miss you," she said finally. "I miss us, and I know I might have broken that beyond repair, but if there's any part of you that thinks we could fix it, I'm willing to try." I looked at her, really looked. I saw the pain in her eyes, but I also saw the damage in mine. "I don't hate you, Lisa," I said, "but I don't trust you either, and without trust, we don't have a marriage." She nodded. "I understand." I took a deep breath. "I'm not saying never," I said, "but I'm not ready for anything right now. I need time, real time." Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't argue. She reached into her bag and handed me a folded letter. "I wrote this for you," she said. "When you're ready." I took it, but didn't open it. We sat for a few more minutes. Then I stood. "Take care of yourself, Lisa." "You too, Jordan." I walked away. This time, I didn't look back. That night, I sat in my room at my brother's place. I held the letter in my hands, but didn't read it yet. I would, one day, when I was ready. For now, I needed to focus on healing, on rebuilding. I didn't know what the future looked like, but I knew what I wanted it to feel like: honest, peaceful, whole. Maybe I'd get there with Lisa, maybe not. But either way, I'd get there, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do after your world breaks is decide to keep walking, even if it's one quiet step at a time.